I want to start with something small. Not a map. Not a revelation. Just a detail. The kind of thing you'd walk straight past. If you've ever wandered through an old city, Bath, Edinburgh, parts of London, older districts in the American Northeast, you may have noticed it without noticing it. A building, otherwise ordinary, with one of its windows filled in. Not broken. Not boarded. Bricked up. Sealed with masonry, flush with the wall, as if there was never a window there at all. Most people never ask why. And when they do, they're given an answer that is quick, tidy, and almost certainly true. The window tax. From 1696 to 1851, in Britain and in parts of America, you were taxed on the number of windows in your building. So people bricked them up to pay less. It's a real law. It's well documented. You can read the legislation. I want to be honest about that from the start, because I'm not here to tell you the window tax is a lie. It isn't. But here is what I kept circling back to. The window tax explains a bricked-up window. It does not explain a bricked-up building. It does not explain a bricked-up block. And once you start looking for those, you find them. And the explanations get much thinner. If you've been following this series, you'll know we've been examining what I've been calling the sealing period. Roughly 1850 to 1910. That strange, compressed window of time when, across multiple countries, under multiple governments, a great many old things were quietly closed off. Forests reclassified. Districts cleared. Buildings that predated the local record removed from public access, not always destroyed, just closed. This episode is about the closing of buildings. Specifically, the ones that were sealed rather than demolished. And the question that sits underneath all of it, why would you wall something up instead of simply tearing it down? Let me give you the pattern, and then let me be honest about where the pattern is solid and where it isn't. Start with what's verifiable. Across old towns on both sides of the Atlantic, there are structures that were, at some point in the 19th or early 20th century, sealed. Windows filled with brick. Doors mortared over. Whole lower floors buried behind new masonry. In many cases the official reason is mundane and probably correct: the window tax, structural safety, a disused wing closed for insurance. The DeJarnette building in Staunton, Virginia, is a documented example you can look at today. Its windows were bricked up. The official reason is practical, to keep people out of a crumbling structure. I accept that. It's reasonable. But notice the mechanism. When we want a building gone from public life, we don't always destroy it. Sometimes we simply seal it. We brick the openings. We close the doors. And a sealed building, left long enough, becomes invisible. People stop seeing it. A generation passes. The reason it was sealed is forgotten. And what's inside is neither destroyed nor known. It is simply suspended. Now hold that idea, sealing as a form of erasure, and let me show you where it stops being tidy. Because there is a second category of sealed building. Rarer. Stranger. And far less well explained. These are the ones that were sealed in a hurry. In the records of the sealing period, if you look carefully, and I've spent an embarrassing amount of time looking, you find scattered accounts of buildings and even whole blocks closed off with extraordinary speed. Not renovated over months. Sealed in days. Sometimes, according to local accounts, overnight. Walls raised around old structures at a pace that made no economic sense, justified by demolition orders that were then never carried out. And this is the detail that stopped me. The demolition that never comes. A demolition order is filed. It explains the wall, the fence, the sudden closure. Everyone accepts it. And then the demolition simply doesn't happen. No rubble. No cleared lot. No new construction. The paperwork sits unfinished in the municipal archive, like a sentence someone stopped writing in the middle. And the building stays. Sealed. Intact. Behind the wall that was supposedly built to prepare for its destruction. Here's the question I want to put to you plainly, because the whole episode turns on it. If you were going to demolish a building, why build a permanent wall around it first? A demolition needs a fence. A rope line. A warning sign. It does not need a costly permanent wall that takes more labor and more material than the teardown itself. Unless the wall was never preparation for demolition. Unless the wall was the point. And here is where I have to be careful, because this is where I leave the firm ground of the archive and step onto something softer. I can show you window taxes. I can show you sealed asylums. What I cannot show you, with a document stamped and filed, is a giant hall from before a city's own history, walled up overnight with men standing silently inside it. That account exists, attributed to a mason, recorded secondhand, decades later. I don't present it to you as proven fact. I present it as the kind of story that keeps appearing at the edges of this record, in the margins, always secondhand, always just out of reach of verification. One such account you dismiss. But they accumulate. And the accumulation is its own kind of data. So let me name the real anomaly. It isn't any single sealed building. It's the coordination. Just as with the forests, just as with the reserves, the sealing of old structures clusters in the same narrow window of time, across places that had no reason to coordinate. The same decades. The same procedure. The same tidy official reasons, tax, safety, demolition, applied to buildings that, again and again, share one feature. They were older than the town around them. Larger than they needed to be. Built to a scale, with doors and ceilings and proportions, that fit no ordinary human purpose. The official explanation for the coordination is that ideas travel. Building codes spread. Safety regulations diffused from city to city, conference to conference. And that's true. Ideas do move. But ideas don't usually produce this level of synchronization across rival nations on opposite sides of an ocean, all reaching for the same solution: seal it, don't show it, let the paperwork rot, within the same handful of years. That's the coordination problem. And I don't have an official explanation for it that satisfies me. I want to be clear about what I'm not saying. I'm not saying every bricked-up window hides a secret. Most of them are exactly what you're told: a tax dodge, a chimney, a bit of architectural symmetry. Most sealed buildings are just old and unsafe. I believe that. But some of them, a small number, in the right places, sealed in the wrong way, in too much of a hurry, for reasons that never quite add up, some of them appear to be something else. Not buildings that were abandoned. Buildings that were hidden. In plain sight. Because there is no better way to make people stop asking what a building is than to put a blank wall where its door used to be and let time do the rest. And that brings me to the question that actually keeps me up. Not who built these places. Not who sealed them, or what they were afraid of. Those matter, but they're not the one. The one is simpler. They were never demolished. By the records we have, most of them were never opened again either. Which means, by the plainest reading of the evidence, they are still there. Sealed. Intact. Standing in the dark exactly as they were left, behind walls in the middle of cities you have walked through, doors mortared shut for more than a century. And the mason, in the one account I told you not to fully trust, added a last detail before he died. He said that years later he walked past the wall, and standing close to the brick, he was certain he could hear something on the other side. Not voices. Not machinery. He described it only as a sound like a very large room breathing. I can't verify that. I wouldn't ask you to believe it. But I'll leave you with the question underneath it: the same one this whole series keeps circling back to. When they sealed these places, when they bricked the windows and mortared the doors and filed the demolition that never came, were they sealing them shut to keep us out? Or to keep something in? If you want to know what happened to the few who tried to find out, the ones who went looking for what's behind the wall, that's the next chapter. It's waiting for you. But first, one question. If there's a sealed building at the heart of a city you know, standing untouched behind a wall for over 100 years, would you want them to open it? Or are some doors better left bricked shut? Tell me below. I read every one.